Hi, I'm Josh. I'm the the Asperger's kid of the family. I like to look at that as an achievement more. It's Asperger's is the far end of the autism spectrum. Sorry, yeah, no, too many words. I'm new to. So I don't fully understand. It's kind of all over the place. And well, for one thing, he has my key cards. Um, this was a bit of a last minute thing for me. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to make it or not. We did end up coming down to Cape Town, so I'm here, and yeah, no, I'm just going to talk about my big year. I was in a very deep depression. It was not a very good time for me in 2012. I don't even really remember a lot of it. It was my mind sort of blocked it out. It's just very, very hazy. But so, yeah, my parents, they stepped up and after doing extensive research, they came up with the idea of the big year. And a big year is a year of birding. And now, don't ask me to explain to you why we go birding. Birding it's just something that you do, and you get hooked on it, and you can't stop. So there are many different types of listing for birding. Listing is a big thing, and you get different types of lists. You can do a weekly list. You can do a list for a listing to count as many species as possible of the different birds, and you can count how many birds you see in a single reserve or in a month, or in my case, the year, and that's the big year. There are some alternative lists that some of my friends do, which how many birds you've seen while underwater. Um, and my personal favorite, which I'm working on at the moment, birds that you've seen while moving at over 100 kilometers per hour. A little bit risky, especially on a dirt road, but it's worth it if you don't crash. But so the big year it was to get me out of the house. I just didn't want to do anything. I had low energy levels and all the technical stuff that I don't quite understand, and I just needed to be, I just needed to be into a better environment, and that's when I picked up on photography. Here's my slides, and I started birding. We were very unprepared. No, my new mate John Kinghorn has just completed his big year, which was last year, in which he got 800 species in the year. He for just Southern Africa, and he's the youngest birder in Southern Africa to do that. And he certainly knew his stuff better than I did when I started. But I certainly enjoyed the time, and it did help me. I got out there, and I certainly, it changed me, and I'm much better off for it, and I owe everything to my parents, and they do make they can do a lot more than they realize, but and they have done more than they realize, and more than I'm going to give them credit for. Um, but no, so some brilliant highlights of the big year. As was said, I went to South America. You got plate-billed mountain toucan. Okay, that's a zebra. That's not South America. Um, while there, stayed at a place. We went to a place called Billa Vista Lodge, where we got the mountain toucan. Brilliant, brilliant place. And nearby, we heard about a rare bird called an ochre-breasted antpitter, which had shown up on somebody's lodge somewhere. So we thought, okay, well, we're gonna rush off, and we're gonna see this bird. So we got to this place early morning. It's always early morning when it's birding. That's just birding. They're morning people. That's where the expression comes from. The early bird catches the worm. But all I've got was a cold. Um, the so we started pretty early, and we arrived at the lodge. The guide said something in Spanish, not quite sure, and he took us off down the mountains, and we trekked through mud and rain and slippery floors and over the hills, and eventually we got to the place. Yeah, this is him. This is the ochre-breasted antpitter. That was him doing his little display. But we eventually got to this spot, and the guide looked at us and said, "Okay, so just be very quiet. I'm going to call him in." And usually, when a guide calls a bird, a guide will either do what is known as spishing, which is a sound, which imitates the sound of small birds mobbing a snake. So the birds come to have a look, or you use playback, or you imitate the call. And we thought he was going to use one of these three options, but instead he stands upright, as upright as he can. It was quite short, and he looks around and he starts going, "Pedro, Pedro, 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 Pedro," and out of the bush, out of nowhere, comes this little tiny bird, the ochre-breasted antpitter, a rare endangered species, responding to the name of Pedro. So that was Ecuador summed up in a nutshell. But no, so brilliant times, and they've led me to where I am now, which is a place in Zululand called Bejan Nature Training, which is part of FAGASA. I don't know if you've heard of FAGASA, Field Guide Association of South Africa, and that's basically where I'm headed. That's the industry I've chosen. It is the most brilliant place with creepy crawlies and everything that can fit in your boot, including a resident snouted cobra that lives under my tent, and a family of tree scorpions under my bed, a little bit lost from their resident tree. But I've just learnt that although I'm certainly not out of the woods yet, as will be verified by my parents. I used a quote. I've written. In the process of writing a coffee table book, which consists of a lot of my photos and just little short stories like the Pedro story, to just basically sum it up. But I've also got a lot of work to do on that. But a quote from the book that I used was, "My mountains are still ahead of me, and in fact, it looks like the Drakensberg from where I'm standing. But if I've been through what I have, then there's not much that'll stand, and I just got to keep going." And obviously, my parents are going to have to let me do it on my own eventually. I think my mom kind of pampers me a little bit too much. I think she needs to stop feeding me chocos. But no, there's plenty to look forward to, and I've been what the main thing that I found is that above all else, hope is, although cliche, it is the most important thing for a kid on the autism spectrum. I got it right this time, spectrum. So it's impossible to continue without hope, and finding hope is the tricky part. But if you can just find something that you enjoy and that gets you out of the house, or just it keeps you moving, then you've got your hope, and you've got a life to live. And that's basically what I've learned so far. Oh, thanks.